Hello everyone, today I'm going to present to you the research I've gathered on the potential rise and impact of tiny homes on the Northern Ireland construction industry and their associated impacts to planning and fire regulations. This was due to their rise in other well-developed countries and the potential to rise within Northern Ireland. I hope you all enjoy. You're probably asking yourself, what is a tiny home? Well, to put it simply, a tiny home is a space that only has an internal area of anywhere between 20 to 30 metres squared and can be 2 stories depending on the individual. The concept first arrived from Alex Wexler, who pursued the idea of living in a compact space. This contributed to the tiny house movement, which would be more suited to those seeking a minimalist lifestyle and those who dislike hoarding unnecessary items, as we can all be too familiar with. The objects of the research paper were to explore in depth how tiny homes have risen in popularity and the regulatory barriers set by planning authorities, how the technical detailing and design is different in comparison to traditional builds, and what are the associated fire regulations for builds of this particular size. There were 3 main aspects explored. The first was the rise in popularity. The influx of tiny homes in developed countries has been the most common amongst those aged 50 and over, accounting for 40%, and those between 28 and 32, which accounts for 64%. As seen from Figure 1, from 2013 to 2018, there was a significant surge in the tiny house demand. In regard to fire regulations, like caravans, tiny homes require the same attention to fire regulations and must be adhered to those set regulatory conditions when being constructed. In terms of fire escape routes, it is essential to have 2 fire escape routes within a tiny home due to their size, as shown in Figure 2, where the circled areas indicate the possible location for fire exits, the first being the main entrance and the second being windows. In regard to reduced emissions, tiny homes can be considered a new construction method into reduced emissions and carbon footprints as a result of their size, material usage, and construction techniques. It is important to note that research by Maria Saxon has shown from a survey that the occupants of 80 tiny homes have reduced their energy consumption by a significant 85%. Energy consumption can be compared between 2 methods of construction as detailed in Figure 3, between tiny homes and traditional builds. 3 interviews were conducted, the first being with Anna Leckie, an organiser for the construction of tiny homes within Northern Ireland. Anna had explained her inspiration for becoming involved in tiny homes and how various factors influenced her decision to propose to the council to include tiny homes in their plan of constructing 31,600 homes between 2020 and 2035. She had said that community living and the benefits to the environment was essential. When Leckie was asked by myself about the council's reaction to her proposal, it was stated that there were barriers that are restricting the application, such as having to register the development as an entity, which would involve the need to seek separate umbrella companies. The second interview carried out was with Kevin Boyle, a planning official from the Belfast City Council. Kevin discussed in depth the issues of constructing tiny homes and had expressed his concerns regarding their development within Belfast. However, he did state that they are suitable in rural areas. He had also expressed various other concerns, such as if the development was to be used as a livable space, the council considers properties under 50 metres squared micro apartments as unfit for permanent inhabitancy, so that rules out tiny homes. And he also suggested under the Mobile Home Act 2013, which suggests these developments will not be valuable in the long term, especially for those who are disabled. For under Part R of the Building Regulations, Section 91, it states that reasonable provision shall be provided for those to have access to and within a building. The final participant was Kevin McLaughlin, a senior fire officer with 25 years' experience within his field. When asked about the storage of combustible materials within a tiny home, Kevin had stated that a separate hut located near the structure could be utilised as a contained fireproof fire unit within. Kevin had concluded that no combustible materials were to be stored underneath the structure as stated in Technical Booklet E of the fire regulations. It was also mentioned by Kevin that the need for smoke detectors and interlocking alarms, if it was a community of tiny homes, were absolutely crucial. He had also said that, like traditional builds, a risk assessment must be carried out before inhabited. However, with tiny homes, the risk is greater due to their compacted size, hence a multi-purpose fire exit must be provided, as mentioned in a previous slide. This study has shown that although tiny homes have become a movement in other parts of the world, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will have a strong influence within Northern Ireland. It may be a trend that influxes slowly over time, hence as of now it is important to note that no impact will be had in the construction industry for at least another 20 years. To conclude, the research collected has shown that the planning regulations as well as the fire will not be overridden to suit the needs of tiny homes due to their popularity not being influential within Northern Ireland, whilst also indicating that although the technical design is different, it is not vastly different apart from their different sizes when compared. Although tiny homes do have the means to become popular in the future, Now is just not the time. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy.